I'd first like to give greetings and say that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Lheidli T'enneh, and we give thanks for this land that we are meeting on today. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tina Cousins. I'm the president of the Prince George District Teachers Association. I bring greetings to you from over 1,000 members. The Prince George District Teachers Association is a union of professionals representing public schools in Prince George, Mackenzie, McBride, and Valemount. Thank you, all of you, for coming to our rally today in conjunction with the North Central Labour Council. Can I hear some noise for the Labour Council? In situations such as these, there are a lot of thank yous. The members that are standing with us on the picket lines, thank you to our CUPE sister locals, 3742 and 4991. Thank you also to our sister local, the Professional Employees Association. They are a union of professionals making a difference, and we thank them for their contribution to our picket lines as well. I liked when I was checking out their website where they call themselves a union of professionals making a difference, because as we are all out on the picket lines, we know that we are trying to make a difference for public education, and that's why we're here today, and for that I thank you. There always has to be a focus for a speech, and my first focus was rage, I won't lie. There's a lot of rage that I'm feeling, and I'm channeling it from the 1,000 members of the rage, and we're frustrated, and we're sad, and we're disillusioned that this government doesn't care. This government is giving us lip service and platitudes. And there is an elephant in the room, actually an elephant in this province, and it's that this government is inflexible in funding public education properly. Shame on them. BC students are being shortchanged $1,000 per student. Shame on this government. Right now, though, I'll set my rage aside for the moment. This rally isn't about teachers winning or Christy Clark winning. It's about public education and our students' futures. Hear, hear. Hear, hear. A very important document that was written between 2002 and 2003, the Charter for Public Education. And part of this says, we expect government to be responsible for fully funding all aspects of a quality education. The public education system needs to guarantee First Nations learners the right to an education respectful of their history, language, and culture. Learners, parents, early childhood educators, teachers, support staff, administrators, school boards, post-secondary educators, the government of British Columbia, and communities need to work together in partnership to meet the needs of all learners. And I really appreciate all of the faces I'm seeing in the crowd, because I know we are all partners for public education. We are all partners in our communities with our unions, brothers and sisters. Thank you for that. We are looking for strong local democratic governance within our public education system and equitable access for communities to programs, resources, experiences, and opportunities for learners regardless of geographic location or socioeconomic status. We have two sublocals in Prince George, and they are McBride, Valemount, and Mackenzie. And our sublocals, it's difficult for them for their students to have access and have the quality of public education that they need. Besides channeling rage, I also need to tell you about hardship. Many sacrifices have occurred in this battle for public education, and a fair deal for teachers and better supports for students. Any time that members are losing money, we know that the stakes are high. Thank you to those who have donated to the Teachers Hardship Fund. This is a fight we can't lose. It's been a battle for 12 years, and the bottom line is we need to see compromise from this government. They need to move off their inflexible position and get a deal done by the end of June. Can I hear some noise for that? We're such nice people. We stop and wave to the crowd that honk to us, and we've had so much support from the community. Today, I heard of the support from the community out in Giscombe. A gentleman stopped by the picket line and said, "How is your day going?" And they said, "Well, you know, it's going okay." And he gave them $100 and said, "Donate this to your union because I know that you would need it." We are getting a lot of public support and community support. Teachers have made moves at the bargaining table. We need the government to move off their inflexible position. It's time for this government to value the children and teachers of this province. And again, thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to pass over the microphone. I know you're probably thinking, what? She's not going to talk all night? But I'm going to pass this over to Aaron Ekman, who is a brother of Labour as well as the past president of the North Central Labour Council, and thank him for taking over my duties at this point in time. Thank you, everyone.
Just figure out the logistics here. Can I get a big round of applause for the president of the Prince George Teachers Association? Singing. And she's like, you know, we'll be in a meeting in a labor council or something, and halfway through.
Closer to your mouth, Aaron.
Oh, well, health and safety is important. Thank you for that. That's good. Now there's a sister that I met just prior to this starting. Her name is Irene. She's somewhere here. She retired as a teacher from Prince George in I think 1989. I don't know if she's around to put her hand up, but she taught Tina how to. There she is, right there. Round of applause for Irene. Vancouver. He was at the rally there last week, and she's here today. And there was also a sister I heard on the radio on the way in here today named Judy. I think it's a day I didn't catch her last name.
Addie.
I'm sorry to kill your eardrums. Is she around? She's got a feather boa on apparently. There she is. There she is. And Judy's with us until the end of the week when she retires, but she was adamant on the radio this morning. She ain't going nowhere. She's fighting for public education for as long as she can, and we thank her for that. Thanks, Judy. And that's what this is about. It ain't about what this government tells us about. It's about a fight for public education, and we need not be confused about that for a second, and I know you're not. Because we hear from this government quite often. They've got 300 some odd communications personnel who pump out this stuff on a regular basis, saying this is about greedy public sector workers. I work for the British Columbia Government Service Employees Union. I feel your pain. I know this message. And they throw this at us a lot. And it's not true. And the reason it's not true, and I don't, there's something that happened last week, or maybe it was a week before that kind of blew my mind. I've seen a lot of examples in my short time as being active in the labor movement that I find really inspiring. But I tell you, when 28,809 teachers in this province marked a little check on a ballot that said, "Are you willing to strike for public education in this province?" and they did so knowing that not only would they be out wages, but probably with no strike pay either, I thought that is the most inspiring thing I've seen in so many years. And so when this education minister tells us that this is about greedy teachers, and you've made a sacrifice like that, then we know that they're not telling us the truth, don't we? There's nothing about that. That this is about protecting public, accessible, universal education in this province. And I can't thank you enough for taking on that fight and maintaining it, because there's something that this government didn't quite count on. And it was that thanks to the work that our world-class teachers in this province have done for so many years, British Columbians aren't quite as stupid as they like to think. And so when they tell us things like, you know, the province is bankrupt or we're going to get there soon because these public sector workers, they want too much money and all that kind of stuff, we've been paying enough attention to have watched corporate taxation rates decline since this government's been in power. From 18% to what's now one of the lowest corporate tax jurisdictions, not just in Canada, but in North America. Can you believe that? It is rather shameful because when they tell us we've got a spending problem in this province, I agree with them to some extent because, you know, there are some things that these liberals spend money on that's kind of crazy, but it's not us. It's not public sector workers in BC, that's for sure. It's not world-class teachers in this province are spending too much on, that's for sure. And it's not children and students in BC that they're spending too much money on, that's for sure as well. And when you watch the rate of corporate taxation decline like that over the time that this government's been in power, and you match it to a graph where you've seen public funding in hospitals and education decline as well, they match up almost identical. And so we know when they tell us there's a spending problem in this province, it's just not true, right? There's a revenue problem in this province. That's the problem we're up against. It is totally irreversible, and this government should do something about it to make sure that we can return to world-class education in this province again, and we can start treating teachers fairly again. Message that I keep hearing from the provincial government that I want to speak to just briefly, then I'm going to pass this on because we've got a number of really good speakers that have traveled quite a ways to talk to you today, and I'm eager to get there. But I hear quite often that you guys are these crazy radical militants in this province. And I got to tell you, I was at this rally in Vancouver last week, similar to this one at Canada Place, and there was such a turnout. There were so many folks at this thing that the poor folks around the back there, they didn't have to worry about me getting too close to the speaker. They had to worry about not being able to hear what was being heard. And so I'm back there and I'm having a hard time. Not when Brother Sinclair was speaking, by the way. You'll see that in a minute. He brings the fire, let me tell you. You're in for a treat. But we were having trouble hearing at the back, and I started having a chat with some of my friends about how crappy this whole situation was, and I feel a tug at my shirt, right? And I turn down, and there's this woman, she's about this tall, and she's clearly a teacher. You know how I know? She gives you that look, you know. Right? Yeah. And she says to me, you know, you might be able to hear a little better if you stop your yapping. And I said, you know you're at a teacher's rally when you get shushed at the rally, right? And so after apologizing to this poor woman profusely, I was thinking to myself, this is the group of folks that this government wants us to think are the radical militants in this province. I can't think of a more pragmatic, responsible group of folks who care about children and care about quality education in this province. And we owe it to them, and we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to the future of children in this province to make sure that we do everything we can to support you for as long as you need to get this done. I try not to read the newspaper very often, but I did see this morning that this education minister of ours, Fassbender, issued a challenge today. And he says, fact bender, somebody says, that's right. He'd never been a fact he couldn't bend. He says something to the effect today that if teachers really cared about students and children, you'd give up the fight and go back to work and get the summer session done with. That's what I heard him say. But here's the thing that he's missing. If teachers didn't care so much about the quality of education in this province, you'd do exactly what he says. You would give up, you fold the tent, and you get back in and you start putting those students through substandard education process. That's not what we're doing here. That's not what this fight's about. And so perhaps we need to issue a challenge of our own to the Premier. Okay? And maybe it should be a 2-point challenge. And here's the first part of this challenge. Fire Fassbender. Number one. And number two, if you give a damn about kids and you give a damn about students and you care about the public education system in this province, then as the Premier of this province, intervene. Stop pretending that you're not involved. and bring a resolution. Bring the class sizes back down to where they belong. Restore public education quality. And let's get it to let's get this done. That's wonderful. Thanks so much for putting up with me, folks. I'm going to call Trina, I think, to the stage, and she's going to lead us through a bit of a presentation on a song.
So this was a song that was written on the back of picket signs and probably played too many times as we were trying to get everything sorted out. And Carmen is here, and Sharon is here, and Paul is here. And it's I'm a Little Teapot with some extra bits. Just give us a minute to find our way here. Totally. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here's my handle, here's my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Don't bully me over and pour me out. Hold on a second, just 1 second, yeah. I'm a little black seed, plant me in a row. Water me, feed me, watch me grow. Seed, seedling, flower to fruit. We want happy kids from tip to root. We got it. Okay. I'm a little teacher, short and stout. Here are my wages, 10% out. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Don't bully me over or lock me out. 30 little seeds, we'll plant them in a row. Read to them, feed them, watch them grow. Seed, seedling, flower to fruit. We want happy kids from tip to root. Take away our income but not our pride. Public education can't wither on the vine. The classrooms are empty and the caterpillars die. Mr. Fassbender, stop telling lies. 30 little seedlings had to see me cry. Didn't get a chance to say goodbye. What did I tell them? How did I explain? I did my best and I gave him your name. Christy, Christy, time for you to go. I need sending it to tobacco. Let's do that again. Christy, Christy, it's time for you to go. The garden needs tending, it needs tobacco. Change your thinking, it won't cost you a dime. But the damage you've done will take a long time. I'm a little teacher, short and stout. Here are my wages, 3 weeks out. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Don't bully me over and burden me out. All right, we're gonna do the first verse again. I'm a little teapot. I hope you all know it. You're teachers. Join us. Oh, let's go. Ready? Go. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here's my handle, here's my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Don't tip me over and pour me out.
So the other day I woke up and said, I don't like being on strike. I feel powerless and frustrated. Now I have learned not to only accept my negative emotions, but to move past them. In doing so, I realized that by accepting powerless and frustration as truth, I was giving power to those who want to hold me back. Then I began to ask, if that is not the truth, what is? And this is what I found. I am a part of a universal movement bringing about the progression of humanity. The British tried to crush Gandhi. Racists tried to stop Dr. King.
and they failed. And why did they fail? Because Gandhi and King and every other person who stood up for the progression of humanity had something in common. They had a vision, and they lived by certain principles. We too have a vision. Our BCTF mission statement says that our goal is, I quote, to promote a quality, pluralistic public school system through leadership and advocacy, professional development, and collective bargaining. We want a fair deal for teachers and better support for our students. Embrace that mission statement and visualize what it looks like. Schools where every child knows that he or she is a sacred being with a vital role to play in making our world a better place. Schools where we have the resources to tap into the infinite goodness of every child and let them shine. Our service is so vital, and excellent service always brings about significant reward. That is our vision. What about our principles? Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Be good. Be honest. Live with integrity. Understand the power of love and forgiveness. If we hate and criticize, we are taking poison and hoping that others suffer. If we want the best for our schools, we must be the best. We must model for Peter, Shirley, Christy, and Michael what goodness, integrity, and power really look like. And by love and integrity, I mean treating them the same way that we would treat students in our classrooms with love. If we have a bully in our classroom, do we say that's okay? No, we don't. So we stand up with love and integrity and forgiveness, and we are the change.
Hear, hear.
And remember as well that what we are doing is vital for the preservation of our democratic system and our economy. Majority governments have to be held in check by the legal system and organized labor. The future of our the future of our economy depends on us to tap into the potential of our students so that all of BC will continue to be a land of opportunity. We owe it to our students and to our own children to stand up for what is right for them and the future. And I will close with a quote from Gandhi. I'll close with another quote from Gandhi. He said, "When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible. But in the end, they always fall. Think of it. Always." So embrace that vision of a fair deal for teachers and better supports for our students. We have been blessed with such a great opportunity to be a significant part of the progression of humanity. Remember the power of love. Be the change.
Hear, hear.
Next up, from Canada's newest union, National Representative Brother Mario Santos from over here where the red flags are. Come on up, brother.
Wow, what a good turnout. My name is Mario Santos. I'm a national representative for Unifor Prince George. It gives me immense pleasure to be at this rally and deliver a message of solidarity. Like all of you, I have benefited from a public education system in which I was taught patience, wisdom, and warmth because of teachers. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for teachers. My son Noah is a young student in BC.
That's it. That's it.
Ooh, that's better, way better. I thought I had a bit of a squeak there. My son Noah is a young student in the public education system. I want him to receive the same quality of education that I received. Christy Clark thinks that's too much to ask. Shame on her. Her warped logic. Education is a committed privilege for those who can afford better. To her, education is a nuisance program with pesky employees. Shame. Well, my friends, I want you to know that you should not tolerate this view. Unifor will not tolerate this view. The fight our teachers are engaged in today is not just about the next contract. It's about drawing the line in the sand with Christy Clark and building better schools for tomorrow and decades in the future. I'm here today to say that Unifor is in this fight with you. Teachers lead the way. We have your back.
She's from the CUPE Inside Workers Local, and of course, those of you who are paying attention know that they just went through a very similar fight, and she's done a great job at continually reminding me that we never get anything in this movement without a bit of a scrap, eh? We gotta work for it, we gotta fight for it. It'd be a great pleasure to introduce Janet Bigelow.
Wow, it's amazing. You can't see this out here, but there is a ton of people here. My name is Janet Bigelow. I am the Regional Vice President of the North for CUPE BC. I come here bearing greetings from all of CUPE National, over 600,000 strong. The CUPE locals from the North. We understand your fight, and we're here to support you. We know how important this is. You know what you have to do with bullies? You can't back down. You have to push forward and fight them. This government that we have hasn't even listened to their own Supreme Court in BC. Twice. They could take the money that they're using on spending, or take that money that they're spending on lawyers to go to Canada's Supreme Court and try to win again. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to say the same thing. We have a right to fair bargaining. We have a right to be respected. Every one of us here. I think everyone here knows too, public education is important. That is our future. That is our grandchildren, our children, and the future going on from there. If we don't educate them well, we're not going to have good teachers to educate the next generation. We all know that no money, that's a farce. There is money. I forget who said it, but they're right. There's a revenue issue, and I think it was Aaron. It's a problem. Now, I wanted to just say, too, that everyone here is representing all of BC, all the residents. We all feel the same way in BC, and I think you guys have got it. Someone here mentioned that you gain weight on picket lines, especially this one. People are bringing things constantly to let you know we do care and we do support you. You need to stay strong. This is a fight that you're fighting for every union local in BC. This is not just about the teachers, it's all of us.
Here, here.
This government will get nasty, and we all know that they've done that. So, and the nastier they get, that means it's the closer you're getting to success. And I think we just need to remember that. I'm not even following my notes here, but I just got to check to make sure I get everything here. So by standing up to this government, and I mean all of us across BC, we send a strong message that British Columbians will not be bullied, that we will not back down. Now, I have a little quote
but you're going to have to listen because it's quite confusing, okay? So, discipline is doing what you really do not want to do so you can do what you really want to do, and that is teach our children. So, thank you for this opportunity. And we'll see you on the picket lines. We have been coming to visit you guys, and we'll still continue with you. Solidarity, guys.
First me up every time I hear her speak. That's wonderful. Thanks so much, Janet. From the Caledonia Students Association, we got Shannon Williams.
So I'm representing the College of New Caledonia Students Union, but I'm also representing the Canadian Federation of Students. We are Local 13. And at our recent annual general meeting, we actually had a motion brought forward addressing the teacher strike. And the motion clearly stated that we believe our public education system is under attack. We also believe our provincial government is using our children as pawns in their plan to destroy our public education system. So all of our member locals, which is 80 students unions representing over 500,000 students across Canada, have been encouraged to write letters of support and to join in direct action with the BC Teachers Federation. As post-secondary students, we recognize the value and the necessity of a stable and productive K-12 education system. Our BC government obviously does not share these values and instead chooses to recognize big businesses and their own interests. Because of this oversight, some of our hardest working civil servants, our teachers, are being treated like they don't make a difference in our society. The truth is that teachers are the difference. Teachers are molding and shaping our future, and because of this, they deserve fair pay and access to the proper supports for their students. Without a K-12 system that cared, I would not be standing here today. Without available alternative schooling, I would also not be here today. My education is the product of School District 57, and my graduation was facilitated by the lovely folks at TAPS, and it is with these people in mind that I stand with you today. And after speaking with members of CFS locals from all over the country, I know our entire organization stands with you as well. So the CNC Students Union, Local 13 of the Canadian Federation of Students, is proud to stand in solidarity with our teachers. Stay strong and keep fighting. And I just want to teach you guys a little chant that we do at our meetings. It's a solidarity chant. It's really easy. You just say, so, solidarity. So, solidarity. So, solidarity. So, solidarity.
This is, we had some concern earlier about whether we needed a professional stage or something like that, and finally we thought, hell no, it's Prince George. We always get around to the back of a bigger jump. I was going to suggest that we, whoever's pickup truck we use, when you're done with it, just get a bronze. We'll put it down in the center of Prince George. There'll be a monument to solidarity in this town, eh? Next up, we've got Jennifer Lee, who exemplifies, I think, why so many teachers in this province are such credible commentators on education, not only because they work in that system, but because they're parents as well, as Jennifer is. And she wrote a letter recently that got picked up by the CBC. She's going to talk about it. Thanks. Come on up.
I have been failed by our government, and I have waited 5 years to let people know. I have a secret, and I was ashamed. Ashamed because I feared what my colleagues would say, what my friends would say, and what complete strangers would say. But today I'm here because I am no longer ashamed. I am here because I no longer have a secret. A few weeks ago, I decided to share my secret in an open letter to Christy Clark. It was called My Dirty Little Secret. And today I'm sharing my secret with you. You see, I'm an average teacher, and I'm an average parent. but I have a child who is not average. I have a son with autism, and he goes to private school. 5 years ago, I tried to register my son in kindergarten at my local public school. And I was told he would not receive support on his first day of kindergarten. I was told he would not receive support on his first day of school because there was no money. Many of you, being teachers, have had experiences with children with autism. So you know transitions are extremely difficult for them. The transition into kindergarten was going to be very challenging for my son. But I was convinced I had done everything right. I thought I had done everything I could do to make it a successful transition for him. And I knew he needed support on his first day of school. But I was not prepared to be told there was no money for him. I was not prepared to be told to wait until October or November, maybe December at the latest. And even if the money arrived, it would not be much, certainly not enough to cover his support, maybe enough to cover a few hours a week. I was not prepared for this, and I was devastated. Do you see, back then, I believed that our public education system was top-notch. I believed that all BC children would have a world-class education in our public schools. I remember meeting people when I went to university, and I was proud that from my small town of 5,000, just 100 kilometers down the road, that my small town had given me a public school education that was good enough to compete with the rest of UBC. I remember traveling and meeting people from the United States and being shocked at how many of them went to private school in order to get the same education that I got in our public school system. I remember being proud of being from BC. Because BC was the best place on earth. So on that day when I tried to register my son in kindergarten, there was never any doubt in my mind that public school would offer him everything he needed. But back then I didn't know. I was still a new teacher, I was a new parent, and I didn't know how badly funding had been cut from our education system. And now it's time to let people know. We need to let them know how deep the cuts are, how our schools are bleeding, and how our children are no longer getting the education they deserve. It's time to let our government know that they are balancing their budget on the heads of our children. Because now I see. I didn't see before, but now I see. I see children in classrooms who don't get support. I see the wait list for testing and speech and therapy. I see the exhausted teacher in the classroom next to mine with 24 highly demanding grade 1s with extreme behavior and a broad range of needs. And I see children overwhelmed by their crowded classrooms. And I see them shutting down or acting out. I see children who are undernourished, poorly dressed, unwashed, and craving love. And I see teachers run ragged. And I see educational assistants moving from classroom to classroom and child to child, trying to assist as many as they can. And I see children needing help. And I see that BC children are no longer getting the public education that they deserve. And I am your average teacher. And I am an average parent. And I'm here because I have something to say. And I'm here because I'm speaking up for our children. The children of BC deserve better.
Thanks so much, Jenny. That was outstanding. Paints a very bleak picture of the situation we've got here and why it's so important for you to keep doing what we're doing and for all of us to support you. We're going to do that. I know we've technically had a steelworker up here already, but it really isn't a rally unless you've had at least two. From the United Steelworkers Local I-424, Rod Park, if you're still around, come on up.
I'd also like to say I had a call earlier from Brother Frank Everett, our president, who asked me to pass on his regrets that he could not be here today, but to be surely pass on his support and our local union support for the teachers. I think this fight is not as complicated as the government would like to believe it is. I think it's very simple. There's three things that the government need to do. They need to accept the two previous court rulings. They need to accept that the teachers know what's best for our students and our kids when it comes to class sizes. And they need to accept that there is a deal out there, but it has to be negotiated and not legislated. I stand before you, brothers and sisters, all of our teachers, to tell you that the United Steelworkers, Local 424, and across the province, the rest of the locals, stand up for the teachers. We support you. We would also like to thank you for standing up for our kids and our public education system. Thanks again.
Thanks, Rod. Thanks very much for that. Our next speaker makes a habit of going toe-to-toe with Minister Fassbender on a daily basis in the House in Victoria. And when he got the invite to come up here and talk to you, without a moment's hesitation, he jumped to it. And he's a bit of a personal hero of mine. Please, big round of applause for the education critic, official opposition, Rob Fleming.
Wow, I love this back of the pickup truck stuff. I want to begin tonight just by bringing greetings on behalf of John Horgan, who's the New Democratic Party's leader, who offered Christy Clark some critical advice last week. We know what a pivotal time it was last week and how much more crucial it is this week, but he told her, and it was free advice, but it was sincere advice. He said, Christy Clark, now is the time for statesmanship. It's time to set aside the brinkmanship and get a negotiated settlement for British Columbians everywhere in this province. That's what we need. And you know, for a guy who's only been the leader of the opposition for 6 weeks, I thought he gave her a lesson in how it is to act like a premier. But we have the premier that we have, She has the responsibility to bring an end to this dispute. She has the responsibility to try something different, because what she has practiced throughout her political career when it comes to the education sector for 12 years has not worked. It has not worked. And British Columbians see right through it. We have a government that practices the politics of division, that practices the politics of provocation and escalation. And British Columbians in communities like Prince George and in every region see right through that, because they're standing with teachers, parents and non-parents alike, because they see in our teachers a fight for the public education system, which is the very heart and soul of British Columbia that built this province. British Columbians have been paying attention. They heard from a justice of the Supreme Court just last January that their government actually conspired against 500,000 kids to put them out of their schools and provoke a strike. And you know what? It looks to any observer right now in British Columbia that they've done it again, right? And just when you thought the depths of cynicism couldn't be plunged any deeper than it has been in BC, when you had Minister Fassbender and other people in the government saying, sorry, there's no money for teachers, there's no money for kids, there's no money for special supports that we need, there's no money for classrooms, voila, there's money for attack ads on paid media with your tax dollars in the middle of a protracted labor dispute. That is a shameful exercise. So what this province needs from its government, who've proven so incapable thus far, is a little bit of hope. You know, if Minister Fassbender believes that he's trying to prove that he's sincere about June 30th being a new deadline, he's had a few of them, that he needs to give us a little bit of hope. And I had some last Friday. I had some the Friday before when Christy Clark said she'd work through the weekend and get a deal, and that failed. But last Friday, Minister Fassbender said, when the Teachers Federation and others called for an independent mediator to use something different to reach into the toolkit and try and get a resolution, he said no. By 12 o'clock, he said maybe. But by the end of the day, and I heard it on CBC radio at 4 o'clock, he said yes. He said yes to an independent mediator. He said, let's try something different. The teachers have an idea worth pursuing. And then came Monday, and he said, I think I said no. That was yesterday. We were up in Nanaimo at a rally just like this. Well, he needs to grasp that. He needs to work with the Teachers Federation. He needs to work and represent people who voted for him or maybe didn't. He needs to represent every British Columbian and do everything he possibly can at this critical juncture after we've lost so many school days to his government's intransigence. He owes us his very, very best effort to get a fair and negotiated settlement, put aside the attack ads, and get a deal. Thank you very much.
Wouldn't that man make an outstanding Minister of Education? I think so. And you know, the nice thing about working in the public sector is we get to have a say every 4 years in who our employer is. And I got a feeling that this riding is going to do everything we can to help make sure that that guy is our Minister of Education in 2017. I think we're going to do that. Now, this next speaker makes me a little nervous because I really like him. You know, it's a bit awkward, but I gotta be clear. I don't know if it's because he's got amazing hair, or whether it's because he's a northerner like us from Topley, BC, eh? But he's definitely a pragmatic, strong vision of just reasonableness and it's great to contrast against what we hear from this government. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the president of the BC Federation of Teachers, Jim Linker.
Which I'll be referring to. But I just want to, first of all, say it's so good here to be here in Prince George, to be back home in the north, because that's so important. And we represent 41,000 members across this province, and it's important to be everywhere across this province at any time. And so thank you for having me here in Prince George. It's so good to be here. And you know, I just want to also in particular thank a couple of people before I begin, because you know, you need to know that in terms of you know, Rob Fleming and Jim Sinclair in particular, because they're coming to every rallies and speaking and showing the support that we have in terms of the whole Federation of Labour, the BC Labour movement, and that's so good. And I want to thank you know, and it's so important to thank, and the problem when you start doing a list, you may forget something. You know, but you know, our sisters and brothers in the labor movement, and that's just been exceptional here in terms of the speakers that we've had from the different unions. You can see the flags, Unifor and QP, and hopefully I'm not going to forget BCGU, and steel workers, absolutely, the steel workers, and my son is a proud steel worker in Sudbury. And the student unions representing, so good. And of course, you know, our parents and our students that's shown us the support in terms of while we've been on the line, and it's so good to have them here. I just want to thank everybody for being here and standing up for public education for our students. And the support that we've seen on our picket lines every day, you know, bringing the coffee and the donuts and the cookies and the fruit. And already there's been a talk about, you know, weight gain maybe, right? And the honks. It's just been so critical for us, because we know that this fight is all of us together in unity, in solidarity for public education, for our students, and for a fair deal. You know, we've been fighting for 12 years now. A government has imposed unconstitutional laws. They've underfunded education. They bargained in bad faith, and they've tried to provoke teachers. You know, it's so sad that for 12 years we've had to fight for what's right, fight for the proper funding for our students. And what we should be doing is working together with this government that's in power. And you know, we want to meet with Christy Clark. And she says, why do you want to meet? And I said, to develop a relationship, let's start there. And so hopefully at some point in time we'll have that. But their last decline was they can't meet with us because we're at a bargaining table right now and we're not close enough. Well, what we need her to do is to enable the employer to bring us closer, have mediation, and let's get this deal done by June 30th. 12 years. You know, we've had victories. I tell you, the victory that we got for the second time in the BC Supreme Court, the second time. You know, like, think of that one. That this government violated the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, our rights. It is shameful. Because what does that teach our students? Because we elect governments to uphold the law, not to violate the law, to violate our Constitution. You know, that's a lesson, and we can't forget that. And that victory in January of this year for the second time is huge. for all working people across Canada and for democracy, because we still live in a democratic province, in a democratic country, and it's time this government start honoring the law, obey the Supreme Court, and do what's right for a change. And you know, it's because of that illegal stripping of our collective agreement that a whole generation of our children have been shortchanged. You know, kids who were 5 years old, who started kindergarten in 2002, or are now graduating, or 17 and 18 now, they've gone through an entire K-12 system in larger classes, less access to specialist teachers like teacher counselors, learning assistance teachers, teacher librarians, special education teachers, learning assistance teachers, less access to the resources and the support that they need. And that's so important, one-on-one time, that we know is important as classroom teachers, because it's not just about making sure that they are able to do well on a test. It's being able to help them with their learning, to be able to talk with them, have that time to spend time with them, that they are a somebody. And that's why smaller classes are important. So every one of our students in our classroom is a somebody, because they're our children. And we're entrusted with them. And having the time to be able to talk with them every day to see how they're doing and what's going on in their life, I tell you, is priceless. And that's part of what this struggle is on smaller class size, and making sure we can give that individual attention to all of our kids, all of the time. That's what we're here about. And you know, it's because of the support of our parents and the hard work of all of our teachers, and of course our school support workers, who are all doing more with less. And that's why that our education system is still as strong as it is. And can you imagine if our system was funded just to the Canadian average? Is that too much to ask for in British Columbia? No, it's not. It's not. $1,000 below the Canadian average, second worst funding across Canada next to Prince Edward Island. It's shameful. And you know, every other province has found money to put into education in the last 12 years, whether there's been good economic times or whether there's been not so good economic times. They have found the money because children, public education is a priority for them. It's time that this government started seeing that our kids, our schools, public education is important, because that's our future. We think it's time that government saw public education as an investment and not an expenditure. And that's the problem. You know, LNG is seen as an investment. And you know, LNG will bring jobs. But you know, our children, our schools have to be seen as an investment, because it's a quality public education system, and our students who graduate and who get the training as they go forward and get the education that they need will be taking the jobs in the future that are important for all of our economy. And so it's time that this government see that our kids are an investment and not an expenditure. And you know, we'll keep pushing, whether it's at the bargaining table, whether it's in the media, whether it's in mediation, that it's time to end the overcrowded classes. It's time to get the kids, our students with special needs, the support and the resources that they need, so that they don't have to wait any longer, because 12 years is just way too long, and we have to change that. You know, the courts demand it, our parents are asking for it, our kids are counting on it. And so that's why we have to continue this fight. It's a fight for our kids, it's a fight for our classrooms, it's our fight for our rights, and yes, it's a right. It's a fight for our wages, for a fair salary increase, because that's also important. And you know, there is money. Don't let them tell you there isn't. And maybe there's a revenue problem, we don't know. But there is money. By 2016, this government will have $1 billion in surplus and contingency funds. $1 billion. The money for a deal that supports our students is there, but we need government to move off their entrenched entrenched positions. You know, 1% difference in wage. We made significant moves in the area of wages to try to get some movement from this government in the area in particular on class size, class composition, specialist levels. And what we got back is the same old same. The Learning Improvement Fund, which has not worked in terms of improving conditions for our school and for our students. And what else did we get back? When we wanted to ensure that our Supreme Court victory continues into the future, a placeholder. No, we're finding ways of trying to make this deal happen, giving government the out. And what do they come back with? That if they lose the Court of Appeal, or eventually at the Supreme Court, who knows when that's going to come about and happen, that then they get the right to terminate the collective agreement if they don't like the decision. Terminate the collective agreement within 60 days so we can start all over again and do this? No way. I mean, that's just shameful. And we gave them a way to deal with it, and we're going to be hard on with them on that. You know, we've made the big bold moves, and we now need government to compromise. I've been clear, we're about compromise, it's about moving forward and not backwards. And we need, when we called for mediation, that was another step forward to get us the deal, the fair deal and better supports for students. And that call for mediation is still out there. We need government to commit to it. We need the Premier of this province to actually get serious about wanting a deal. And we're going to keep working on that. And you know, Rob talked about the changes in Minister Fassbender, no, maybe, yes. At the same time, you got the Premier out in a video stating that no credible mediator would take on this dispute. I mean, that's shameful. What does that say in terms of her actually wanting a deal? You know, she talks about labor, peace, and stability. And what has she created instead?
Division.
Not labor, peace. And what we want to be is we want to be in our schools. That's where we wanted to be in the last 2 weeks. And not on picket lines. But you know, enough is enough. And it's time to take that stand that we're taking. Because we can't take another 12 years. Our students can't take another 12 years. Because it's who we are as classroom teachers. And what our students mean to us, our kids. You know, we're also parents, we're grandparents. And we want what we want for our own kids, for all of our children. And that's why this fight is so important. That's why we will continue. That's why we will stand strong. And, you know, I want to go back to the money piece, right? Because there is money. And I've used a number of examples. They stole $275 million out of the schools, out of collective agreements when they illegally stripped our provisions on class size of the collective agreement. $275 million, compound that. It is shameful, it is brutal. And we put a proposal on the table, again, in the spirit of compromise, while we wait for the next decision in our favor, of $225 million to address class size and the conditions in the classrooms. That is approximately $75 million to $125 million less than what government has said it would take to restore the provisions in our collective agreement, which shows that we're reasonable. It's not a lot of money because our students are worth it. But yet, this government last August, and this is one of my favorite examples, they settled a court case with California Power, a private power company, for $750 million. $750 million to a private power company in California. And Bill Bennett, the minister, said that's a good deal for British Columbians at a time when there's no money. That's shameful. But $225 million for our students to improve the conditions of learning for them and the conditions of working is not a good deal? Hey, that's a hell of a bargain, I say. And now I just want to thank All of our teachers are here across this province, proud members of the BC Teachers Federation. You know, you are amazing. It's your commitment and your passion every day in our classrooms. You make the difference, the positive difference for all of our students. And that's why we keep doing it. I just want to thank you for the work that you keep doing, because that's why our education system is so strong. And that's why this fight is important. And that's why we continue to be here as teachers, because it's about our students and making that difference. So I want to thank you for everything that you do on behalf of our students and on behalf of our union. You are amazing and you rock. Thank you. And I also want to thank you for standing strong behind our bargaining team with your commitment and resolve, because that's so important. Being there for our bargaining team to get the deal that we need. And you know, working together, we will get that fair deal that we need, a negotiated deal at the bargaining table. We will keep pushing government. We want mediation. We want mediation because it's been 17 months now, and it's time to end this. Our students need smaller class sizes, class composition guarantees, minimum levels of specialist teachers at one-on-one time, and that has to start in September, and that's why we're here. That's why we're going to continue. Thank you very much.
And Jim, we really do, from the affiliates up here in the north, I know the North Central Labour Council as well is very appreciative of the leadership that you've shown. And we really are rooting for you, not just because you're a northerner, but because you're doing a fantastic job. And I know you've got an immense amount of support in this struggle, and we're going to be behind you. Sisters and brothers, this next speaker really doesn't need an introduction. I know most of you had a chance to meet him because he's absolutely tireless. He's a tireless advocate for workers. He's a tireless friend to teachers. I also happen to know he's married to one. And but he is an inspiring speaker and advocate on behalf of workers all across this province, whatever the issue. Many of us have spent a lot of time watching him, admiring him, and trying to keep up with him, and it is tough, and that's usually why we save him for last. And you're in for a treat. Brother Jim Sinclair from the BC Federation of Labour.
You are a wonderful sight. Prince George does it again. Thank you very much. Just say what I see when I look out here. I see people who care. I see people from all walks of life. I see people from private sector unions and public sector unions. I see parents who are not from any union but are standing with us today. What I see, sisters and brothers, is the most precious thing that we have as human beings, and that's solidarity with each other. That is the precious thing. And I've walked these picket lines with teachers for over 2 decades. In 2002, when they whipped up the contract, they filled the Agrodome with other labor leaders and teachers and stood together to say this is wrong. In 2005, workers walked off the job to join you, to say it's wrong to rip up collective agreements, and demanded to negotiate a fair deal with you, and they did. That was solidarity. And today, as you stand here, this is not going to be easy, and you know that. You've taken on a fight that started 12 years ago. You've won 2 court cases. It's time to fix the problem once and for all and get a deal for kids in British Columbia. And let me say, there are things we do in the labor movement to show our solidarity. But I like to think about public education as solidarity. I like to think about the 2 really important things we do with each other. That's taking care of each other when we're sick and making sure everybody has a chance when they grow up and gets proper education. So this battle today is about our solidarity with our children, with the next generations that are coming. It's about the big promise that we make to them, that no matter who their parents are, no matter how hard their lives are, that every kid that works hard can get ahead and get a decent life and be part of our society. it helps to think about that progress sometimes when we're feeling in a tough spot. When I went to high school, when I went to school, when I went to public school, I learned some really good things, but I learned some bad things. Yep, I won't even go into some of those. But let me tell you what I did learn that was wrong. And it's an important lesson as we sit here today and talk about why some parents can't send their kids to public schools anymore. I learned that the kids we called retards got on special buses and went somewhere else every day. That's right. And so we built schools back then and put them in closets. And we kept them away from everybody else. And the big problem with that was they only learned that they were different and wrong, but we learned that we were better and different too. And you know, we fought to change that. We opened up the closets. We put them in the schools. We said, you're all important people. You belong with each other. That is so important. And we made that commitment. And then the government decided they weren't going to keep that commitment. They made that decision in 2002 when they ripped up your collective agreement. And they took out the very language that, by the way, let's be clear, teachers paid with wages to negotiate that language. You paid for that, thank you. I know that I appreciate the speaker that said that I have to reach out with love. And I do have a lot of love for Mr. Fassbender or Fackbender. So I'm going to give him some loving advice that I learned in school and in my community. That when you steal things, you are doing something wrong. When you take things that aren't yours, you are doing something wrong. And that whether you are caught or not, you should fix that. But Mr. Fackbender, you got caught stealing from the people of British Columbia the right to a decent education. And you went to court. And you said, oh no, I didn't steal that, I just took that because I had to. And the judge said, sorry, there was a signed collective agreement and you ripped it up, give it back. Put the stuff back in the contract. Well, that made sense to me. You get caught stealing, you fix it, right? That's out of morality. And then they don't have to fix it, so they decide to fix it by forcing a labor dispute, ordering it back to work, and not putting it back in the contract again. So I like to think I hear it every day. It's all about money, it's this money, teachers want too much money. That's wrong. That's what they want everybody to believe. It's all about money. It's not. It's about 1,500 special needs teachers that aren't in the schools today. That's what they took away, not money. You're not asking for money, you're asking for a better place for kids. You know, if I hear money anymore and how poor we are, I'm just going to have to do that heave thing, you know? You know, honestly, when you think about it, we have no money, we have no money. They always have this line, you know, the cupboard's bare, we have nothing. Well, nobody ever asks, you know, who took all that stuff out of the cupboard then? Where did it go? I'll tell you where it went. I kept this paper for this occasion. This is the paper from 2001, just after they got elected, okay? Where did some of that money go? A big bang for BC business was the headline, remember that? Okay, this is the part I really liked about this one. This is the business folks talking. They're saying here, I expected something, but I didn't expect tax cuts quite on that scale. Like imagine, eh? Imagine if Iker walks out of the bargaining table and says, Jesus, we got a deal, we got more wages than we expected. I mean, let's think about this. They gave away more money than they even expected. So we have to take that on. There's not a problem with money. We are a rich province. They have a fund right now that can fund all of what you want. And the fact is we can find that money. And the real deficit isn't the one in the banks. The real deficit that's going to kill this province and hurt the economy is in our school system. That's where the deficit is that we have to fix. That one has to be fixed. Now. Okay, you got lucky. My speech fell on the floor and I can't finish. I want to talk about There's a lot of problems we gotta fix when we're done this one. And one of the things you have to deal with, and I hear it all the time when I go home at night. So I know a lot about you. But you know, there's that image in my head. One night, my partner came home and told a story about Catherine. And Catherine was in her grade 2 class, I think, and she's described Catherine coming to school with her mother. She'd been in, by the time she got to grade 2, she'd been in like 4 or 5 schools already. Her mother was a single parent on welfare trying to survive. And that kid came with a lot of challenges, let me tell you. So what did the teachers do in that school? They fed her. Like, they fed her, okay? They made sure she had enough food that she could function in the school. And then they made sure they connected her up with other kids and made sure she could make some bonds and be with other kids and be part of that. And then they helped her learn so that she could get back on the fact where she could get and learn and be a fully healthy, functional person. And 4 months later, they cut the welfare payments, and so she moved out of that district again and moved somewhere else to try to start again. You see the difference between what they do and what we believe in? We believe that the fundamental thing is that we're all important people, no matter who we are, and she's as important as anybody else. And that's it, folks. So I know we're not done meeting together, and that's good. I know that this government should come today and phone up your leader and sit down tomorrow and negotiate a fair collective agreement. That's what should happen here, if anything's right or just. And if it doesn't, let me say this, that the biggest challenge in the next period of time will be our solidarity with each other. That's our weapon, and we have to protect that and build that. That starts with teachers sticking together, making tough decisions, fighting hard to get what you need to get for all of us. It starts with the labor movement sticking together with people, walking the picket lines, standing up and speaking out with you as well, and making sure at the end of the day that when you walk back into those classrooms, we can all walk into all of our workplaces with our head held high in dignity that we did the job that was necessary. So thank you very much. Keep this together. We're going to win. Thank you. Solidarity. Solidarity.
That was a good chant. I would like to say thank you to those teachers who are retiring. What an awful way to end your career and your school year. It's horrible. Thank you to all of our brothers and sisters in labor. Thank you to our teachers and our speakers. And I was glad to see Trish Bella, trustee. She came out for a while. They are having a board meeting. I'm not sure if they can hear you, though. Can we make some noise so they know that the rally is... And you know, I always sing, that's what I bring to this. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I have my dignity. Now back to the back of the pickup truck. We call it the strike mobile. Thank you to our teachers for standing with dignity. Right now, that's about all we got left. Times are tough, and I really appreciate, and it's heartwarming to see all of you here today. Please support us on the picket lines. Let's hope this fight will be over soon. I know we all feel that, because I know I'm tired of giving you the answer. I don't know, I'm sorry. That's a kind of a common answer, but we'll all stick together. And thanks so much for coming, everyone. Good night.